Individuality, it's something that sets us apart from one another. And I think in video games, I think it's more necessary than ever. For a while, I've been seeing a lot of gamers, mainly on Twitter more than anything, of course, right? That gaming is dead, or games don't hit the same as they used to, or there are no good games out. And I kind of sit here and scratch my head and I'm like, what do you guys play, or what are you paying attention to? And it just made me think more and more and more that people do not play games for their own enjoyment. People play games to like it's keeping up with the Joneses. It's like that the risk of FOMO ruins them from actually buying a game and playing it at their own pace for what they want to get out of it. And rather they play and try to beat it as fast as they can to get their tweets off or to get into the conversation. But they run the risk of not really engaging with said piece of game. Social media really has ruined a lot of people's enjoyment of video games and really understanding what it means to engage in this type of hobby. You know, whether it be from FOMO, constantly hearing people saying gaming is dead, games aren't what they used to be, or the constant echo chambers that people trap themselves in. It's a constant struggle as somebody who really loves video games, constantly seeing something that I consider my passion in life constantly be disrespected and disregarded as something that is not worth it or not valuable, when it's just being said by a bunch of people who don't even engage with the games they even have on a very individual level. Like they just want to get tweets off, get likes, whatever it is, just start discourse, arguments, all those things, all for clicks. It's all for attention. They don't really care. And it's annoying. It's annoying. And people fall into that trap and then they subconsciously start thinking to themselves like, man, are games really that bad? Are games really not that good? And then people really start having this subconscious affect the way they consume games. To give an example of how FOMO can really ruin your engagement with games is me. Growing up as an adult, and when I started to make my own money, I really had a bad problem with buying every new game that came out that I had any interest in any shape or form. Instead of buying a game that I really cared about and then playing that game and getting everything I wanted, I would buy a game, week goes by, buy another game, another week goes by, buy another game. It's like every paycheck I was like buying a game. And my friends, family, relationships, like they would even tell me like, why'd you just buy a game when you just bought one last week? Did you finish that? And I'm like, no, but I really wanted this one. And it was the fear of missing out. And that ruined my enjoyment. And granted, I have done what it takes to fix that issue. I try not to buy games all the time. Like, I only try to focus on games I really care about. And right now, in this current year, the only games that I really care about is Astrobot, that's coming out in September, and the Dragon Quest III remake that drops in November. So I want to stick true to that, so I'm not wasting my money on other games and adding them to my backlog and then creating the issue where it's like, do I play this new game or do I play my backlog? And then you sit there with choice paralysis and you're just like, I'm just not going to play anything. And then that issue alone, I think, affects a lot of people. And I feel like people are aware of that in themselves, but they're not taking the steps needed to fix it. I say all of this to ask the question, what do you actually care about in video games? Disregard what you see on social media, disregard the echo chambers or fan bases that talk about said game or whatever. Think about you. There are so many games that are able to be played today, whether it's be through emulation, what's currently released on PC, consoles, whatever. Think about what you want. And don't think about, oh, I should only think about the games that are coming out. No, think about games overall, like the entire history, if you want to. You can think about a game that was back on PlayStation 1 that you wanted to play. Play it. Treat this hobby as something individual. Do not treat this hobby as something you have to feel like you need to keep up with. No, once you fall into that trap, gaming becomes a chore. It's not exciting. It's not fun. It's not engaging. It's neither. I've regained my love for games because now I treat it as an individual. I worry about what I want to play, whether it be a game on the PS1, PS2, 360, whatever. I got a few games I can name off the top of my head that I want to play. I still want to play Mega Man Legends 1 and 2 on PS1. I still want to play Chrono Trigger. I still want to play Dragon Quest 5, 6, all of them. And knowing that I can just decide that on my own and engage in them on my time and because I care about it as me as an individual makes me love this hobby so much more. And I don't worry about what's coming out. Games that are far off into the next year, I do not care about right now. GTA 5, Monster Hunter Rise, not Rise, but Wilds, all that, I do not care. I will care when they get here. But right now, I care about what's accessible for me now or that is currently coming up in the next 3 to 4 months. That's all I care about. And now I feel in control. I feel like I can play games at my own pace. I'm not worried about the conversation of this new game. I'm not worried about what people say about this game I want to play. I don't care. It is about my individual experience. And I feel like you should do the same. For another example I have is Persona 3 Reload. I recently beat Persona 3 Reload about a week ago. And that is a game that I've heard from fan bases that it missed the mark. It's mid. It could have been better. But when I played it and took it in from my experience, I came out loving that game. I understand people's gripes with the game, but at the end of the day, I do not care. And that's okay for me not to care. And that is also okay for the people that have issues with the game to have their issues. It's their own individual opinion. Just like me loving the game is my individual opinion. I'm much happier that way. Let people have their opinions. Don't get personal about people's opinions. That is something that people have gotten way too carried away, that I can sit here and say, Persona 3 is an amazing game, and somebody will be in my mention saying, how dare you say Persona is your favorite game? That game sucks. It's a disgrace to the original. How dare you? Why should I care? Just like, why should you care that I said it's a great game, even though you think differently? I'm free to think that way, just like you're free to think that way. And let's leave it at that. I don't know you. You don't know me. Another example is a game that I see a lot of people talk about and they love it, and I don't. And that's okay. And I had to learn to accept that it was okay. And that game was Final Fantasy 16. 16 was a game I was immensely excited for. I played it. I didn't like it as much as I thought it would. The story was great until a point. The combat was great until a point. It felt like more spectacle than substance. And that's my opinion. But to other people, it's their game of the year. And at first I was like, how could y'all? Like, what? Y'all don't understand what a game is. And it gets to a point where it's like, why do I care? If they found enjoyment in that game, then good for them. And if I don't find enjoyment in that game, that's okay. I can move on. There are plenty of other games I can enjoy, and let people enjoy what they want to enjoy. Especially if it's not like they're playing a buggy mess of a game. They're playing a functional, like, well-made game from a technical standpoint. So anything else in that they can like or dislike. Doesn't matter. It's not that hard as you think it is. Before I end this video, I would like to leave you with a thought. Think about to a time when you were a kid playing your favorite video game. And this was a game that you waited for so long. Your parents finally get it for you. You play this game to beginning to end 5, 6, 7, however many times. And to you, this game is 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. And then you become older and then you look up this game and then it's like, oh, I thought this game was a 9 out of 10. I thought everybody liked this. And you look on Metacritic and the game is like a 70. And then it's a shock to your system, but at the same time, what you should take out of it is, hey, reviewers may have thought this game is a 7 out of 10, a 6 out of 10, but you thought it was an 8, 9 out of 10. That's what matters. That's where your enjoyment came from, was that you individually experienced that game as a child and you kept it with you for all these years. And now when you finally see something that goes against it, it's a shock. but it doesn't take away the value that you got from that game all those years ago. And that can still be replicated today as an adult. So don't give up. Play your games. Focus on your backlog. Don't get caught up in what everybody else is talking about or what everybody else is getting hyped for. Make this an individual hobby for you, and you will find enjoyment and regain that love that you thought you lost all those years ago. And thanks for listening.